Hi, everybody. This is Mike Leahy. Thanks for joining us today for our session on our new purchase order management software. Bart, Fannin, and I get up here. These are our pictures here. We can all shake hands over the phone. For those of you who may not be familiar with our business, we've been in business forever. We have worked and have become Macola experts forever. We specialize in manufacturing and distribution. Virtually all of our customers are manufacturers, maybe 10% are distributors, and we are based in Cincinnati, Ohio. And what we do for a living here is we develop software that makes your standard Macola software much, much easier to use. So that's a little bit of overview of us. So what is this PO management software? It's software that collaborates in real time with your vendors. So it's web-based. So the traditional way is we print the purchase order, we mail it to the vendor, we print the purchase order, we fax it to the vendor, maybe we get fancy and we email it to the vendor. We never know if they're getting it or if they like it or whatnot. So this software solves a lot of that. It sends the purchase order to them in an email. It sends the purchase order to them. It notifies them via an email that they have a purchase order. So the idea is that in real time with your vendors, using notes, documents, emails, reports, you're collaborating real time. This integrates directly with Macola, so you can use it right away. There's an hour setup, so to speak. So the idea is that real time. It's real time. It's web based, and it's designed to monitor all of your purchase orders and get. Somebody was telling me the other day, is this really getting the vendor to work for you? So it eliminates these endless emails, voicemails, and as I said a second ago, gets your vendors working for you. So who are the target companies? This is what we've pinpointed. Companies with high volume or strategic vendors, and companies that need to improve their vendor performance and get to be 100% on time. And this last one, this is something, a real example that I experienced one time working with a customer, that they were waiting for this important order. And I wrote down here, recall recently, recently means has happened to you, when you called a vendor for an important delivery and found out that they never received your purchase order, or that person left the company, whatever the process is, but they never, because you didn't have a web-based system to acknowledge their purchase order. So that's what this is solving. So this is the mantra of all of our dashboard software, that Macola has the data, the standard Macola has the data, but Pulse brings you the information. In other words, we're taking that raw data from Macola, and Pulse dashboard is converting that to information to make better and faster decisions.
Thanks everyone for your time. Just want to show you a little bit of what it is we're looking at here for this. So far I'm signed in to this particular web page, so I can access this anywhere on the internet. In this case, I'm signed in here with the name Carrie is the user that is signed in, and this is I'm signed in as if I'm an actual internal employee in this example. Okay, I can log out and I just have a user ID and password to sign in on here to a web page that I have saved. Okay. Up in the top left, this is an area that lets me get back to this main hub home screen at any time. So whenever I'm going out throughout the demo here and I want to get back to this main page, I'm just going to click anywhere up in this icon up on the top left. Then what we've got below here are 4 different hubs, and these are all defined by me and can be defined by you as the internal company using this, and then also for your vendors as well as to what they would be able to see. So in this case, I've labeled the first hub purchasing, just general purchasing items. Items that are specific to me, so buyer Carrie here in this example. Then I've got some other specific items that I want to be able to track. In this example that I've got, I'm looking at deliveries in certain amount of days out that I could view, and then any items that might need special attention here on the right. Okay, I can move these around, I can add new ones, I can refresh at any time. So another example may be, let's say, is I normally want to see what information I have, but let's say another buyer named Jim is on vacation this week. I could simply create a new hub that would be a copy of this, except it might say buyer Jim, and it would be all the items that are specific to Jim that need to be reviewed or have attention or need to be worked on during the week that Jim is out in this example. Okay. What we'll do is we'll focus on this first hub here under purchasing, and notice that I've got a number of items that I can highlight over either the count or the name. So we've got waiting on supplier, and the count would mean in this example that there's 12 items that are waiting on supplier. Same idea for waiting on customer. That would be me, the internal company in this case. So I'm going to take you into the very first one here, waiting on supplier, and notice that, remember that we had a count of 12 as the screen's coming up, so I should have 12 items here on this screen that are waiting on an action from the supplier. And I can come in and see specifically what it is, or I could still change something even though we're waiting for a response from the supplier in this case. So first, going across, notice that we've got a predefined list of columns available. And I can click on any one of these, the three dots on here, to be able to filter and look at different types of columns. So I've got a filter option, and then I've got a columns chooser here. When I choose this, it's going to give me a list of all the available columns and whether I can choose whether they are visible or not. And if I come over to label, we'll say as an example, and I start typing the word order, anything that starts with the word order is coming up on here. And in this example, I'm going to come down and I'm going to choose order weight. And maybe I want to say that, yes, I'd like to make that visible. If you noticed behind the scenes, before I even finished exiting out of here, order weight was added onto the screen. Now I could drag this and remove it or change it to another location if I choose to. But I'd be able to now, just to show you as an example, how to add order weight or any other column to the screen and how easy it is in this case. Now, let's say I'd also would like to, excuse me one second. Let's say I'd also like to filter to one particular vendor in this example. Coming over to vendor name, I might just start typing the letters COMP to be able to choose and filter down to one particular vendor. And once I've done this, I can see that I've got 2 purchase orders that are waiting for a response. Again, that's the area that we're in, waiting for a response from the supplier. And I'm going to go into the second one, order number 24-00. Once we're inside here, just to show you a little bit of the layout of the screen, I can actually print this out at any time if I would choose to. I've got the company and vendor information, any of the ship to information here in the main body. I've got a lot of the buyer and FOB and ship via information down here below. And then taking it down, as I scroll down, I've got the actual line items that are on this purchase order. Okay. If I scroll back up to the top, I can also open and click on the history area to be able to see what all has taken place with this, okay? So I can see on 4/26 that the customer was notified, and on June 16th, this is the customer, this is who I'm signed in as, is made a modification, okay? Well, what was the modification? Well, I can open this up here and come down through, and I can see that I changed the old value of line number 1 from 15 as the old to 16 for the unit cost here, okay, and for this item number. All right. And from then I can leave that open if I choose to. I could view the other actions that's taken place on this, but I also want to show you, I can open up here on the documents, and I can attach any type of document in our system to this particular purchase order. I can also open the notes here, and I can add any particular note that I would like to the bottom of this. So if I added a note saying, double checking again, that this information is correct. Okay. I can save the note, and I've got checked here to notify. This means that it's going to notify the supplier that I've added a note onto here from 8/20 on August 25th, right at this time. Okay. And this will then be available for the supplier to be able to see as well once I've done this. Okay. So I'll take you back to the main hub screen. And again, I'm just clicking up in the top left corner. And I'm going to take you now down to notifications sent. Okay. And opening that up, again, I've got 7 as my count here under notifications sent. And I'm going to be able to see if I come down to the same area there for any one of these, I can be able to look and choose and see what notifications were sent and when, and what information took place on what action and those dates the notifications were sent for that. Right. Coming back up to the hub again, I want to be able to look at items that have been approved now, and I've got one item that's been approved. For order number 4400, so it's the only one. So I'm going to click and come into here, and I'm going to be able to come up to the history area again here, and it's going to show that this item was approved by me back on April 26th. Okay. And well, what was approved? Well, what was approved were the changes that were made by the supplier. Okay. And again, in this case, they added promise dates or changed the promise dates. So we previously had May and June promise dates here under the old value. Under the new value, you can see that we've got updated promise dates, various dates between June and July. Okay. I was previously good with this. So in the past, I had approved this one. And that's what showed the change the status to approve in this case. And that again, coming back out here was what gave me, I've got one that's in an approved state waiting for the, in this case, the vendor to be able to deliver. Okay. Now, what about items that are still waiting on me? Okay. So I've got on here, we went into waiting on supplier, but in this case, waiting for actions from the customer, which is, this is our company here, is what needs to be responded to on this. So I've got 2 items on here that are waiting for a response. So let's go into the first one. And on this one, I'm going to show you 2 different things. If I come down to the notes, notice that the supplier had put in this case, just a test note. But let's say the note said, hey, Bart, if you could reply to this by Friday, that would be great. Okay. I could acknowledge whether then I've seen this note, and it would no longer be in red, but it's out there as a note that is currently unread, and I can click acknowledge at any point here to show the supplier, okay, I saw your note, right? And if I also come up into the history section, I could see, okay, this item is waiting for approval. Well, again, what has changed? Well, we did not have an old value in the promise date, but now a new value has been put in of May 20th, the promise date. If I was good for that, I can approve this purchase order. So notice this one had not yet been approved and was waiting for a response from me. I could approve that, and then the items that I could show you previously in the history that had been approved, this would be added to that list. Okay. Once I've done that, I can come back out to the hub here again. And I've got a section here that says notified but not viewed. Okay, let me take you into there and show you a little bit what that means. Okay, I've got about 7 items on here that where we've said I've sent a notification to the supplier, but they've not seen it yet. And on here, I just want to show you an example that, well, how do I build this? This can be built and modified in any way that you would like. In other words, I could narrow it down to just those that were notified by a certain buyer. And in this case, it shows the last action was notify. And then over here under the view date, if I click on my filter icon, I can see, I don't know if you can see the highlighting there, but all the other lines are gray. This is showing is null on here, meaning of all the actions that were notified, I want all of those that do not have a view date in them. And this shows me this is the list of items that the vendor has yet to view. Okay. I could then notify them again. I could call them. I could send them an email, whatever the choice is. But in this case, I can build my information to know I've notified them for whatever reason. They've not responded or actually viewed the notification in this case. Okay. Come back up to the hub here. I just want to show you some of the areas like in the special attention area and in the deliveries area. Now these are custom built to where I could be able to say, show me items that are 30 to 60 days out, okay? Show me items that, or 60 to 90 days out. So if I click on the 60 to 90 days, just want to be able to show you again how this is built, because I can set this up to be at whatever duration that I want on here. So in this case, we've got 60 to 90 days, and I can come in and I can be able to build on here, like I showed you on the previous screen, similar rules to be able to say, I want to see items that have a promise date within 60 to 90 days. In this case, we don't have any, but I can customize that to look like any that I would like to see. Okay. All right. Let's come back out to the main screen. I'll see, Mike, if anybody has any questions or if there's anything I missed to go over.
Yes, we had a question or two. The first question was, and I'll just repeat it for everyone listening. Is there any kind of special hardware or special server or network that's needed for this? And the answer is that it does require what's called an IIS server. And what that means is it's a real server or a virtual server that is dedicated to be what this software will run on. Because in other words, this is running on a local machine, a local server at your company. But we can help spec that out if there's a need, if your IT people need some help with that. And then the other question was, if I have some key vendors, can I create a hub just for that vendor? And I think the answer, and I don't know, the answer is yes. What you would do is, let's say that you were taking that purchasing hub up there, making a copy of it, and then making it say purchasing-ABC vendor. And at that point, then each one of the reports in there would just be filtered to show this particular vendor that you're concerned with. So if you had 4 or 5 really hot vendors and you did not want to commingle them on these reports, you could have a separate hub box for each one of those vendors. You know, similar to what you might do in Dashboard if you were looking at sales activity or open customer orders for 4 or 5 different vendors, customers.
Correct, and yeah, same idea here with buy or carry, but so Mike's example, I could have multiple hubs, or you saw in the rules of building this, I could have multiple selections in one hub. I could even say all vendors except a certain vendor could be showing up in another hub. So you are building that, and you are building that as well for your vendors as they sign in. So if I come up here and I were to log out as an example, I could be able to come in and say, well, I want to log in as the particular vendor in that case. Okay, and so if I had that, I would come in here and I would log in as that vendor. And in that case, I may only see one section that I've narrowed it down through the controls. You're controlling what they're seeing, and I may narrow it down to just the items that are relevant to that vendor in that case as to what they see. Okay, and then you can also control which of your vendors would be able to see this. Now, one part I'd like to show you too is that we can build on here through the functionality. I won't go into the detail, more explain it to you, is when we send the notification of the purchase order to the customer, we are defining actually what goes out in that email. And in the email, it typically is not actually attaching the purchase order to the email. It's sending an email saying, and it can be all variable information with links to click on, saying in the examples that you saw before, purchase order 44-00 has been approved, and they can then click on that link or just come back here into the server as we had done, and I showed you, signing in under the vendor, and then see the items that's waiting for them to look at. They could then print that out from here, but in many cases they can just view that at any time that they want And the email itself normally would not have a copy of the purchase order then as well. It would come back in here to be able to view it at any time. A lot of advantages to that, one from a security standpoint, two from that they're always typically seeing the latest and greatest copy of the purchase order when they come in and view it from this hub, and the same on our end as well.
Thank you very much for your time. And again, if you have more interest in this or pricing information, please give us a call.
Okay, thanks everyone.
Okay, thank you. Okay, have a great rest of the week. Bye-bye.